You open your eyes for the very first time, and would you look at that? You're a human. Congrats. But let's not get too excited. This is Taris, your home planet in the Outer Rim. And it sucks. You and your mother live in one of the many abandoned starship wrecks that are littered all across the planet's swamp-covered surface. When you're only 13 years old, you spend your days scouring old shipping containers, fighting over pieces of scrap, and living in extreme poverty. The other side of the planet, however, is a paradise. The rich live in fancy skyscrapers, guarded by private security forces. It's every kid's dream to one day save enough money to afford a home on the far side of Taris. But you're broke, and there's no work. A long life of grueling poverty or a short life of crime seem to be your only options. But there is one other path. One day, while you're rummaging through abandoned scrap heaps for something to sell, you stumble upon an old, crumbled up poster. On it are 3 stormtroopers dressed in pristine white armor, standing tall. Nothing beats an academy education, it says. Stand with the best, enroll today. Stormtroopers aren't just your regular Imperial troopers. These are the elite, the cream of the crop, the deadliest weapon in the Emperor's arsenal. Only the best of the best are selected to serve the Empire. And to make sure they have a constant flow of new potential soldiers, recruitment stations are open on every single planet inside the Empire's reach, even the poorest planets, like Taris. And that's definitely not a coincidence. You see, the Empire knows that people in these impoverished worlds are much more desperate for jobs, money, and food, so they intentionally target them for recruitment. But being a stormtrooper is not for the faint of heart. You've heard stories about the brutal training regime the cadets are put through at the Imperial academies. It's a life filled with danger, fighting the rebellion splinter groups all over the Empire. But for you, it's also your only hope. It's your only chance to explore the galaxy and make it off Taris. More importantly, the pay from just one tour of duty as a stormtrooper is more than what the best jobs on Taris pay you in a whole year. So, at the ripe old age of 13, you say goodbye to your mother, then head to the nearest recruitment center to sign up as a cadet. Your new life starts now. For you, the only path to power is through Imperial recruitment. There's no academy on Taris, so you hop on board an Imperial shuttle ship that takes you off-world for the very first time in your life. Stormtrooper programs are deliberately centralized, meaning most Outer Rim recruits are shipped to the Inner Rim or core academies to separate them from their homeworld influences. A few hours after takeoff, you land on Lothal, another Outer Rim planet, home to the Academy for Young Imperials. You won't be here for long, just 1 year, to get you ready for more deeper training at more specialized academies. On Lothal, you train alongside young cadets looking to join other branches of the Imperial military, like the Navy and the Army. But before you're even allowed to start training, you're put through rigorous testing to make sure you're up for the challenge, both mentally and physically. The Empire has no use for the weak, or those who crack under pressure. So they make sure to put every new recruit through physical and psychological screening to eliminate the weak early. You pass the entrance exams and are assigned into a squad consisting of 7 other cadets. One of the training exercises you regularly go through is called the Well. It's a brutal, virtual obstacle course that can be altered on the fly to fit any situation that a stormtrooper might encounter on the field. The 3 cadets who perform the best get extra rations and bonuses, meaning you're not just battling the course, you're also competing with your squad mates. And what's worse is that if you fail to clear the course, you're punished harshly, maybe with public humiliation, where you're paraded before peers or forced to do shame duties to break morale, or maybe by collective punishment, where if one cadet fails, the entire squad is punished. And it isn't just obstacle courses. Instructors occasionally stage fake betrayals, picking a cadet and setting up a staged defection scenario where they desert the Empire, just to see if his squad mates would turn on him. The Empire doesn't just want people who can shoot straight. It wants soldiers who put their obedience to the Emperor above personal loyalty. That's because the Academy also serves another purpose: indoctrination. Stormtroopers are taught Imperial history with heavily written propaganda, painting the Jedi as traitors and the Republic as a failed system. You're also taught the value of undying loyalty to the Empire, and you take an oath to serve the Emperor and swear your loyalty to the Empire. Stormtroopers don't question orders. They don't think. They don't feel. They just obey. You're taught to forget everything that makes you an individual. You're taught to be nothing more than a weapon for the Empire. When the Emperor says kill, you ask how many. The aim is to strip you of any individuality, enforce competition, and reward blind obedience. After a long year of punishments and failures, you eventually build yourself up to be an efficient, hardened machine. And congratulations! You get to graduate and join a more specialized academy branch to really hone your skills as an elite soldier of the Empire. Unfortunately, not everyone is as lucky. 50% of cadets never make it through the program. getting washed out before they even get to wear the white armor. At 16, you learn to use your jetpack efficiently, making sure you never lose the high ground. You're taught how to pilot the deadly Imperial walkers that act as frontline armor units. You practice your aim to become the best shot in the entire galaxy, rarely ever missing. Well, in theory at least. Most important of all, you learn that victory must be earned, no matter the cost. There's no room for camaraderie or mateship here. If your fellow Stormtrooper gets hit and falls to the ground, you leave him there to die. It doesn't matter how many troops you lose or the crimes you have to commit. You do whatever you have to do to win the battle for the Empire. But that doesn't mean training gets any easier. Quite the opposite, actually. You see, in many Stormtrooper academies, training isn't just simulated. Recruits are sometimes pitted against each other with live rounds. Any casualties caused by this are considered by the instructors to be acceptable losses. Teams of cadets are occasionally ordered to take out rival squads in combat competitions, reinforcing that the Empire doesn't want cooperation across units, only loyalty to command. Another large part of your training are the urban suppression scenarios. These are simulated combat scenarios where you're tasked with putting a stop to uprisings and rioting civilians. After enough of these, you'll start to see the non-combatants as enemies. If that isn't bad enough, you and your squad are dropped into hostile environments with limited supplies and ordered to return to base. Worlds like Karita and Arcanus were chosen because of their harsh climates, frozen surfaces, scorching deserts, or deadly mountains. Cadets are deliberately exposed to environmental extremes to weed out the weak. Your success in these training missions requires endurance, but also the willingness to leave behind your weaker squad mates.